Well, hi everyone, and I just wanted to say that this is an incredible day, and it's a day that we should all take note that the hostages finally might get released. It's something that at our agency we've covered every single day since that very horrific event that took place on October 7th. On a personal note, I've had a son who's a tank commander for 300 days in Gaza. Many of us have gone through that. Many of us, there's not a person that has not felt what's happened on October 7th. What's important for me is that the truth of what you get in your newspapers and you see on your televisions and you hear on radio is not getting out. That we train journalists each and every day. We have a training program, and what I see today in terms of what's happening is horrific. The Jerusalem Post, Ynet, SRN News, many others are clients that take our content, but what's important is that we look and we search and we delve, and then we find out that 40% of the tunnels in Hamas are still not taken out as we sit here. How many of you know that? That's a huge fact, that there's still 40% of infrastructure of the Hamas apparatus still in existence. So if a ceasefire comes together, we have to ask the hard questions. And then we have to hope that the new president that comes in, and we have to pray that the new president that comes in will have the authority and the wisdom to deal with what's about to lie in front of him. It's very, very complex. Israel has fought many wars at the same time, many battles, and terror has reigned to an extent that we have never seen before. We need to redefine terror. Most of us don't realize that what's happening here in America on our doorsteps, and I wrote that for an opinion piece for the New York Post just a little over a week ago on Sunday, and it was the fact that I'm saying it's at your doorsteps and you don't realize it. And that you have to call terror. It doesn't matter if it's domestic terror or international terror. Terror is terror. And if the person that committed the terrorist acts went to Egypt and went to Canada, you have to ask why. And if people like this are being trained because they can get on social media, and you understand that, unfortunately, Telegram, where Hamas still can be daily and present all this horrific anti-American and anti-Israel vitriol, should not be able to reign free. Government needs to figure out a way that they can wrap their head around these issues and solve them. We're dealing with issues with TikTok, whether it's going to get sold. As we speak, the Chinese just created another platform that it will just open that new platform, and that will then replace TikTok. And then let's look at Meta. Is it a good thing or a bad thing to take off the ability to monitor what's happening and have fact checkers? Well, I say we do need fact checkers, but we have to know who those fact checkers are. Because if you have only one-sided fact checkers, then you're never gonna get an entire story out. Journalism was created to give you a full spectrum of information and to be a checks and balances on government. Journalism needs to be strong again. Journalism needs to be taught in school from a young age. And students need to understand the tools of social media even younger today. And the tools of social media isn't something that we should fear, it's something we should embrace. Going back to terror and looking at what's transpired, when we look at what's happening with the Red Sea and being held hostage, it's affecting every one of you. And the shipping that's happening around the world, and think about how we have been held hostage by a group of tribes in Yemen, the Houthis, that most of them have lived on $1 a day, but not today, because they're getting paid to do this. And they're weaponizing everything. The former minister in Yemen of communications contacted me yesterday, and he said, Felice, shout out that slogan, death to America and death to Israel. That's what they're saying. Listen, and it's not a joke. I wish I could stand here and tell you that any of this is funny or humorous, but it isn't. It's deeply concerning that we still sit here and we still have these issues. And then there's Syria. Look at what has happened in 12 days, where al-Jilani got in and he was able to take out Assad. But we don't really understand who this group is, this rebel group, and how, what they're going to morph into and who they're going to really align with. And it could be that they're showing a political face, but we're not sure that that's what's going to happen. And how Turkey is going to play a role, right? And where is Israel's role here? And Syria itself, which is so divided, and the Kurds who are watching over all the prisons that are holding the ISIS members. So I bring back to you terror, and I bring back to you what's happened in terms of ISIS, and I say to you, we need to know what's happening. We broke a story that's extremely important, and it's something that, again, I don't think any of you realized, is that Hamas was using the social media platforms in order to be able to spy on Israeli soldiers. As we speak today, it's amazing, but in Italy, the head of the civil administration, who has always dealt between Israelis and the Palestinians, was called out. And there is somebody by the name of, and I want to get this right, Chef Rubio, Gabriel Rubio in Italy. And he is a Palestinian activist who is trying to get the head of the civil administration, who is in the army and a major, to be tried for war crimes in the ICC and to get the Italian government to stall him there. Israel had to come in and they had to rescue him. It's the third time this has happened. We broke that story pretty much on what was happening in terms of Hamas using social media for this purpose. Well, folks, can we stay asleep, or do we have to do something about this? It's incumbent upon us as Americans to make that difference, to make America stand out as that great leader, as a country that it should be in the Middle East. Because look how powerful the Middle East is, and that means Israel, and that means the nations around it, because that's what really predicts what's going to happen tomorrow. As we sit here in the beautiful home of President Trump, I really hope that the next 4 years will bring some truth out to the population, that people are better informed, that we can go back and we can help to train our students. If any of you are interested in supporting what we do, please do talk to me after. But this is an extremely important time that I don't see many people relying on very basic fundamental tenets of democracy. And truth will only survive if we do this. Anyway, I wish you all prayers and the best for the United States and the best for Israel and for the world at large, that we see peace amongst us.